Hi guys, and welcome to another video. In my previous video, I asked a couple of guys I talked to on Instagram who are watch enthusiasts and photographers and videographers and people with a lot of experience when it comes to watches and photography and so forth. I asked them their opinion about my last video, and they told me a couple things. One was light, which I'm working on that. Another one was background. So I said to myself, well, let me change that background to something that shows where I'm from. And that's where I'm from. Actually, I was born in a city in Transylvania called Turda. And I grew up in a city here on the more towards the bottom of Transylvania called Alba Iulia. Absolutely amazing places there. Beautiful. So I'm going to try to keep this background for a little bit. You guys let me know what you think. But today, it's not about a background, it's about a watch. Before I start talking about this watch, I'll give you a quick wrist check. This is my lovely Laurier Neptune on a strap that I got from them. And I put a couple of pictures of this on Instagram. It's a really beautiful strap. From Laurier. I really like it. I've been wearing this a lot. So I got my wine. Let me take a quick sip of this. On my last video, I think I drank a whole bottle by the time I was done with the video, when I was editing and messing with it. Anyway, Atlantic. This is a Atlantic Worldmaster. It is extremely unknown in the US because, to my knowledge, they never imported this watch here or any of their watches. So this is a watch from, I would say 70s, maybe early 80s, but most likely 70s. I'll give you a little bit of history about this company. Atlantic is a company that was put together in Switzerland in 1888, and they've been obviously, like a lot of companies back then, they started making parts for a lot of companies, and then little by little they started making their own watches. In 1955, I believe this Worldmaster was first put on the market. Atlantic watches, from what I read a little bit, the first store was in Poland, so I think they kind of kept a lot of their watches, watch sales in Poland. They did extend to South America, I believe, at one point, but I'm not sure if they still sell stuff there. But the company is still, to this day, is still a privately owned company. They never bought into the new, into the big Swiss companies, and they make, to this day, they still make this watch. It doesn't look like this. It's obviously updated. It looks more modern, but they have a huge variety of watches. From chronometers to, they even have a diver, they have GMT, they have pretty much everything, and they've all very, very unique design. So this particular one, I decided to buy this because where I grew up, right there in Romania, in communism, people didn't have a lot of watches. They knew very little about Swiss watches. You were not allowed to have a Swiss watch in communism. So you were, from what I understand, a lot of these were smuggled in Romania. And a lot of people had these. You would have a lot of doctors and lawyers and police officers and people in politics. They will all have an Atlantic watch, or other watches, Swiss watches like Doxas, and so forth. But this pretty much stayed in my memories because I love seeing a lot of the older people when I was a kid who had an Atlantic watch. So I found an opportunity, and I met a gentleman online from Romania who He does these watches. He pretty much brings them back to life. So this, I would not call it a vintage watch, because this is, I would say, refreshed, if I can call it that. The weak point of these watches was the case. The case was, I believe it was, I don't know if it was nickel, but it was a very, very poor metal mix, and it was chromed on top. Maybe it was brass and then chromed on top. And if you look online and you type, if you do a Google search for Atlantic Worldmaster, you will see a lot of them with destroyed cases, absolutely destroyed. So this gentleman, I asked him to make me, he made me two of them actually. Asked me to make me one with no date, just like this one. And he changed the case. He changed the crystal. This is plexiglass. And he cleaned the dial. He redid the lume, but he didn't touch the hands or anything. So this is a fully mechanical watch, just like Atlantic Watch Company still sells to this day. They still have this model in a fully manual watch. Well, now it's an ETA movement. Back then, these had, I believe they were called FHF movements. So still European-based movements. So I let this die pretty much so I can just show you a little bit. Love that noise. I remember my grandfather doing his watch like this every morning. And then it starts. And these made that beautiful ticking noise of a manual wind watch. This design, it's not that many watches made these days with this design, this Art Deco gold look. Atlantic still makes a white dial and a black dial. Now the ones they have now, they're all a date. This is a no date. These, they're very funny. In the back here, you see, if you're able to see, back then they were allowed to put on these watches, let me see, waterproof right there. Can't say that anymore. But back then, that's what they did. There's not that many reviews on these watches online and on YouTube. I think I saw maybe one or two, and I didn't see one like this with the blue dial. This is an absolutely beautiful watch. Look at that crystal. Look at that dome on this thing. Gorgeous. So it's a very unique watch. Again, in the U.S. market, very unknown because they were never brought here. So I think at one point I saw a website. I don't know if it was U.S. based or not, but they were selling these, and I was thinking to buy one, and then it just disappeared. So I'm not sure if it was a U.S. based website or not, but not that many people know a whole lot about these watches. It's a very beautiful watch. I wear this every other day. I put on my hand, and I'm just in love with it. It's a beautiful crown with A from Atlantic on it. It's a very thin watch. This is a 37. These, for that time, that period, these were considered jumbo cases, big. They were all within the 35s and 32s and 30 millimeter watches back then. This is not an expensive watch. You can go to Chrono 24. You find these in the between 200 if they're really poor, condition, to $500, $600, $700 around there. Now, when you hit the $700, $800, I saw there's one on eBay for like $800 or around there. When you hit 800, you kind of hit old Omegas and so forth. I'm not sure if this is the quality of an Omega, but it's definitely unique in itself, the way it looks. And Nobody knows anything about them. A gentleman stopped me at a gas station a couple of weeks ago. I have this from like January, big middle of January. And he had an old Omega. I don't know what it was. Maybe a Constellation or something, but beautiful watch. And he stopped me. He's like, hey, what kind of watch is that? I've never seen anything like that. He was obviously a watch guy. And I talked to him for like 10 minutes. And he was like, wow, he was very impressed with the... So it's something very different. If you want to be a little bit different than, older Omegas and older Swiss watches that, you see a lot of collectors have them in their collections. Something like this, you're not going to see a whole lot. And it actually keeps time pretty good. I had to regulate it. It was maybe 3 minutes slow when I first got it. So very easy to regulate in the back. Open it up and regulate it. I think I opened it twice. And then since then, it's been keeping time. Amazing. Maybe it might be 30 seconds slow a day. But that's nothing to a watch that, it's 40 years old or, around there, 40, 50 years old. 30 seconds is pretty much nothing. It has lume around the indices. Obviously, it's no, Laurier, Neptune. There's nothing crazy, but that's not what this is for. This is just to have a beautiful old piece that looks amazing on your wrist. I'll give you a quick wrist shot of this watch. Anybody that sees this watch, it's pretty much impressed by it because it's something you don't see, and if it's gonna last, that's great. There you go, 37 millimeters. My wrist is about 6 3/4. It looks pretty good. I mean, if you compare it to a Laurier's 39, so this is not that much different. So it's a beautiful watch. If you are in the market for, you want to buy something vintage and you don't know what to get, and you say, you know what, let me get something that you don't see a lot of. This is a cool watch to have. Absolutely gorgeous piece. I gave my other one, like I said, I ordered 2 of them from this guy. I gave my other one to a friend of mine here who... he's a watch guy. He has, very expensive pieces. And I gave it to him. And he's enjoying it. It's something very different. It's not something that, if, God forbid, you drop it and something happens, you're not going to cry. It was a very inexpensive piece. But it's very unique and very, very beautiful the way it's made. Distortion. Look at that distortion. Beautiful distortion on this watch because of that crystal. Gorgeous. That's about it. I have another sip of my wine, and I'll leave you with that. I'll do more videos here shortly. If you like this type of video, subscribe and you'll get notified when I do more. Thank you guys. Have yourself a good day.